Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today's video I wanted to go over some of the special tools that might be needed to begin this project of a TDI conversion on your Toyota pickup truck. So I'm going to try and list all the tools that I've ran into so far and some stuff that you might need to buy that's not typical in everybody's collection of tools. Unless you buy your TDI engine straight out with the harness and stuff and it's already been pulled, you're definitely going to need a set of these. These are called triple squares. A couple different examples there of them. These in particular I got off of Amazon. This is the part number. You definitely need stubby ones. There's a couple of bolts on the starter and other part of the transmission that are very hard to get to if you don't have anything that's really short. So I would recommend this particular set. I actually used a cut down one also because I didn't have these yet, but I had to ultimately buy this set to get the transmission apart. This is also a must if you're going to be doing this project. I'm particular to the Honda stuff because I worked for Honda for about 15 years. Really like the products, but you definitely need some good Loctite and some dielectric grease. Some other lubes and stuff. I like the JB80. This stuff's way better than WD-40. I know people are going to argue, but I've used pretty much everything out there, and this stuff right here is awesome. Back to this though. Dielectric grease, I can't stress this enough. Go over all your connectors, clean them, put dielectric grease back on them. This also can be used as a lubricant, like putting spark plug boots back in on gasoline engines and stuff like that. So awesome stuff. Highly recommend using it. The Honda brand is very good. There's other brands out there, Permatex. This is just kind of what I like to use. Loctite. Use it. It will save your butt. Anywhere a manufacturer recommends to use Loctite or a specific kind of Loctite, use it. There's reasons. You don't want a flywheel bolt backing out and then tearing up your brand new clutch, or vice versa, bolt backing out and tearing up the actual casing of the engine that you're working on. It's cheap. It takes an extra second when you're putting the bolt in, but highly recommend using it. This would be another thing I would suggest if you don't have to go ahead and get. You're going to drop bolts. You're going to need to see around corners that you can't see to get to connectors and whatever else. Get yourself some magnets. I have a couple different versions here. I think this is like a Mac one. Kind of a little more heavy duty, picking up bigger, heavier bolts than your standard pencil ones that telescope out and flex at the end. You will thank me later. Definitely purchase this. Another thing is a good mirror. This is a Bluepoint. You don't have to buy them. You can buy cheaper ones. The only thing that I've over the years found out about the cheaper ones is this little thing right here doesn't like to stay tight. This one's kind of got like a lock nut on it to tighten up and keep it there, but a lot of your cheaper ones are just a plastic piece right here in the center, and your end of it always constantly will fall down on you. This one you actually got to use a little force to open it up so you can jam it into somewhere and not have to worry about it folding down. This one in particular also has a light on it. You don't have to have one, but trust me, if you have this and you've ever used it with the light, it's a game changer. Trying to hold a flashlight and shine against this to see what you're potentially going to take off or whatever the project is. It's a lot easier with that. And along the same basis as the last things I showed you there, lighting is key to having success in your shop. The shop I'm in right now is just kind of my garage, so it has lights more to light up. I don't have them all on. When I'm working on stuff, I have everything flipped on, but this thing's awesome. This is by Snapon. It actually has a magnet built into the base. You can spin the base all the way around. Sorry, trying to do that one-handed. High and low. Last decent. It's not the best battery I've ever had. I've had this thing replaced twice already. But it is awesome lighting and very small and handy. I use a lot of flashlights and stuff too. I won't go over all that because everybody's kind of got their own stuff. But definitely lighting is key. It will make your job a lot easier. Acme also tells you that you're going to need an 11/16 drill bit. This one here is an Irwin. I got it off of Amazon. I think it was like $9.50 shipped to the door. Very cheap, but this thing was amazing. I'll have a video later showing what we had to drill out on the block. It cut through it like butter. Still very, very, very sharp. And the engine block is definitely thick and hard stuff. So big shout out to Irwin Tools. This thing was awesome. Probably looking at me going, this isn't a tool. Yes, this will save you. Can't remember everything. Everybody's human. So get yourself a good notepad, pen, write down stuff you're gonna need, measurements, whatever. That way when you go shopping for other pieces or stuff you might need for this project, you have it written down. It's also a very important tool, a must, especially if you're working on Toyotas. They're known to be pretty rusty. The one I'm working on, definitely rusty, and these saved me. I used these particularly on this truck because they have the sides and a little overhang. Keeps you from, when you're underneath of it looking up, stuff falling into your eyes. Alright, this tool I've had for probably 15 years. It has multiple uses. I believe it's just designed for what I'm going to tell you, but there is other things that I've used this for and it works great. This is actually to remove the squeeze type hose clamps. A lot of your Volkswagens, even on the Toyota I found, have a squeeze type clamp on them. I'll do a video later on how this thing works. That way if you're not too mechanically inclined, you can't figure out how it works, I'll definitely show you. But this thing, I can't stress, is a life changer. There's stuff on the back of firewalls, that, like your heater core hoses and stuff, that you don't want to break things out of the car because you're trying to reuse for this swap. So getting those hose clamps off can be really tricky, and this thing right here makes it awesome. It flexes any way you want to turn it. You hook it on to the hose clamp with these two little jaws, and then that thing, when you squeeze it down, has a ratchet, locks it, holds it. You can slide the hose clamp off, like your radiator hose, boost lines, whatever's using that style of the clamp, and easily remove the hose then. Highly recommend this tool. It might be a little expensive at first, but trust me, you will find many of different uses for this. These are hose clamp pliers. Not a must, but will save you a ton of time trying to get hoses off, especially old coolant hoses that have got like petrified and dried up to whatever that they're clamped onto. Especially, you got different kinds of materials meeting different surfaces, so you got corrosion factor there. And this you can kind of grab around the hose. This opens up pretty big. This is a bigger pair of them. Squeeze down, twist your hose a little bit, and pop it right out of there easily. Big time saver. This is kind of what the pros use when you're trying to get the job done. Again, these are hose clamp pliers. These particular, I believe, are Bluepoint. Yeah, Bluepoint. There's the part number. People probably going, why would you need this? Well, this is MAP gas. This gets stuff hotter twice, maybe 10 times quicker. I don't know what the actual percentage is there, but if you're trying to heat up an area fast, get yourself MAP gas. The blue bottle just doesn't do it. You'll be using 10 times the amount trying to heat the same spot to get it hot enough. You got a stuck bolt in a tight spot. This is it. You're trying to drop a bearing into a case. This is it. You heat the case up, freeze the bearing, drop the bearing in, it pulls it right in. Again, map gas. Of course, you're going to need wrenches. I got a couple different sets you're going to need. Adjustable, you might use that. Pry bars, definitely. But get yourself some good wrenches. I like the Gearwrench, I like the Snapon, Matco stuff. I found that the Snap-on regulars are probably the best that I have. I have had pretty much every brand out there. My personal set that I use at my house is going to be this set, just like this set, and same thing I used when I was working too. The Gearwrench makes it good. Ratcheting wrench. This in particular has a collar on the end of it to keep it from going over, you know, a nut or a bolt there. Some people like it, some people hate it. For what I used it for daily, awesome. Makes things faster. You're not constantly dropping the wrench over a nut and trying to pick it back up and get it back on there. But just make sure you get yourself a good set of wrenches. They don't have to necessarily be name brand. Just make sure that their ends of them aren't all rounded and stuff there. They have good 6 and 12 point ends on them. This also is a must. This is a torque wrench. You don't have to buy this particular one. I personally like this one. I've had this one for a few years now. Also have non-digital ones, the click style. You don't have to buy Snap-on. I just like the Snap-on ones. I've had pretty much all the different brands. These ones here seem to stay in calibration the best for me. Usually get these done every 6 months to just keep them up to date. But definitely this is a good investment. You'll use it in other projects down the line. Good to practice using this all the time. I know people say, oh, I know how tight it is with my hand tight. Yeah, but when you're building race engines, you can't just go off of that. I also used 2 cordless ratchet wrenches. Not a must. You can use the standard traditional ratchet. But for disassembling this vehicle, actually both vehicles, this made it a lot easier. You're not trying to sit there and spend all day backing a bolt out by hand. This will take it out easy. I grew up, my grandfather, he would yell at you for using this kind of stuff. So growing up, I used regular wrenches and ratchets. I never really got to use this stuff until I bought it myself. But this stuff's awesome, makes stuff a lot easier. I wouldn't get into the habit of using it to put stuff in and finalize with it. Use your torque wrench. You can start bolts, put them back in, but make sure you start everything by hand first. That way you're not cross-threading stuff and it threads in nice and clean. And you can tighten it down with this, but definitely make sure you get in the habit of going over your bolts and torquing. A couple examples of other tools that I used during this process. I used this drill to drill out the block with the 11/16 drill bit. This is a Mac 1/2-inch impact. Basically a DeWalt one. This thing is great. I've had every other brand out there, and as far as a 1/2-inch battery powered impact goes, this thing is awesome. I've traded all the rest of the stuff in. This junk compared to this. The smaller stuff that Snap-on makes is great. This thing is awesome for breaking bolts loose. Small stuff. I mean, you're not going to freaking take a wheel off. You might. Actually, I took the bell housing bolts off of the transmission with this with a 4-foot extension, believe it or not. It took every single bell housing bolt out of the transmission of the Toyota. But just a couple examples. This will make your life easier. You don't have to buy this, but it definitely helps in making the job easier. Kind of hard to see this, but this is about a 3.5 foot long Snap-on extension. just from doing transmissions over the years on different cars. It's nice to get a solid one-piece extension. You start putting multiple together and you lose torque. You're already losing a ton through this freaking massive extension, but people that have done transmissions and have taken, done their own clutches and whatnot in cars, especially trucks or BMW cars and stuff where you got to get up over the bell housing of the transmission from behind the tail shaft of the transmission. This is amazing. Like I said, I used this with that little 14.4 volt impact and took every single bolt out of the transmission of the Toyota pickup truck with it. This is a must to everybody's tool set. This should probably be one of the first tools that you buy if you're going to try to be a mechanic. This is the impact driver. Used for getting, screws, nuts, bolts, whatever out. If they're seized and stuck, and you try about everything else to get them out of there. Mostly you're going to use this thing on screws. A lot of times people are putting different material screws in aluminum. They're putting a steel screw or something in there, and the corrosion factor corrodes in. Even on your brake calipers, you'll see there's a screw that holds some of the not the caliper but the actual rotor on. And to get it out, you need one of these. Buy it, they're cheap. You can get this. I think I bought this thing like 15 years ago for probably like 15 to 20 bucks, and I've seen them online for 19, 20 bucks. You don't have to buy a good one. As you can see, this thing right here, it's seen its better days. It's cracked, it's chipped up, it's taken a lot of stuff out, but it still works, and it was cheap. It's not $1 million one. Another thing that you should have as one of your first tools in your toolbox: hammers, dead blows. You need all different sizes. You're not going to just get one and it's going to do every single job for you. Trust me. There's a hammer for every job. There's also different punches and things to soften your blow. This is a brass, I guess you call it a punch. Whatever the technical name is for it, it's used to put against another surface you're not trying to damage. That is a lot softer than whatever you're putting it against, or the coating on the surface, and it will damage the end of this before it damages whatever you're hitting. So 100% recommend all different size hammers. Don't just buy one and think you're going to get away with it, because you're not. You're going to need all kinds of different sizes. Actually, over the years, even ran down to, believe it or not, having this little itty bitty thing here. This is a specialty. I named it Killer. This hammer has one particular job, but I still had to buy it because I did that job 1,000,000 times. Take this all the way out because I never actually do. I usually just pull out whatever I'm needing out of it, but get yourself a tap and die. I have both metric and standard. I never use a standard one because everything I work on is usually metric. I like the Irwin. This thing right here is exactly the same as this Snapon and Mac, but probably a quarter of the price because you're not putting the name on it. I've had all the other ones. This one has the same warranty. Definitely something you might want to invest in. You don't want to have to go pay a machine shop to do stuff. All right, so this was just a quick video. I wanted to go over all the tools that you're going to need that you might not have, and you'll probably have to buy some of these. Definitely 100% need the drill bit if you don't already have it. 11/16 is the drill bit that you're going to need to put this adapter plate on. Does not come in the kit. Like I say, I listed other stuff in this video that's going to make your life easier. Definitely want to invest in a impact driver. It's definitely going to make your life easier. Map gas, 100% will make your life easier. You'll thank me. But yeah, you also are going to need 100% if you are going to do this swap yourself in your have the donor Volkswagen. You're definitely going to need triple squares. There's a lot of stuff on that Volkswagen engine and in the car that's triple square. For pulling the engine and transmission out, it's kind of just standard metric stuff, but to separate engine from transmission, starter, you know, just different components off the actual diesel engine itself, you're definitely going to need triple squares. And that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to give us a like and hit that subscribe button. See you guys later.